In this video, we are going to learn about another three useful JavaScript array methods, and these are includes, sum, and every method. These methods can help us check if an array contains a certain value or if it satisfies a certain condition. We will see how they work and what they return and how to use them with some code examples. By the end of this video, you will be able to apply these methods to your own projects and improve your coding skills. So let's get started. Now let's see what the includes, sum, and every methods are and how they can help us. These methods are part of the array.prototype object, which means they are available for all arrays in JavaScript. They are also known as predicate methods because they take a function or a value as an argument and return a boolean value, either true or false, based on some condition. Now let's look at each method in detail and see how they differ from each other. So first of all, we are going to learn about the includes method. Now this include method checks if an array includes a certain value among its elements. It takes one required argument, which is the value to search for, and one optional argument, which is the index from which to start the search, and it returns true if the value is found in the array and false otherwise. For example, let's say we have an array of fruits like this and we want to check if it includes the value apple or not. In order to do this, we can use our includes method and we can write let check apple is equal to fruits dot includes, and then here as an argument we are going to provide the name of the element that we want to check. In our case, we want to check apple. Now if I hit save and if we log this check apple variable, you can see it returns true. And this is because this fruits array does includes this apple value. However, if we check for a value that is not in the array such as grapes, the result will be false. Now if we check grapes instead of apple and if I hit save, you can see now we have false because this value grapes is not present in this fruits array. Now one more thing to keep in mind is that this includes method is case sensitive, which means it will only match the exact value, not a similar one. For example, if we check for apple with capital A, the result will be false. Now if we check for apple with the capital A and if I hit save, you can see we have false because in our array we have apple with the small a. Now this includes method can also take a second argument, which is the index from which to start the search. This can be useful if we want to skip some elements in the array or search in a specific range. For example, if we want to check if the array include apple after this second element, we can pass 2 as the second argument for this includes method. Now if I hit save and if we change this apple from capital A to small a, you can see we have true. And this is because the fruits array has apple value after the second element. But however, if we pass 3 as the second argument and if we hit save, now we have false in our console because this fruits array does not include apple after the third element. Now this second argument can also be a negative value, which means it will count backwards from the end of the array. For example, if we pass -1 as the second argument, then it will start the search from the last element of the array, and as you can see, the result is false. And this is because the last element of the array is mango, not apple. So this includes method is very handy when we want to check if an array contains a specific value without having to loop through the array or use the index of method. And now we are going to take a look on our sum method. Now this sum method checks if at least one element in an array passes a test provided by a function. It takes one required argument, which is the function that tests each element, and returns true if the function returns a truthy value for any element and otherwise false. For example, let's say we have an array of numbers like this and we want to check if any of them is even. We can use the sum method in order to do this, and we can write const check even is equal to numbers dot sum, then parentheses. Now here we are going to provide our callback function, which will then check if a numbers array has a even number or not. And here we are going to use our arrow function, and we only use one argument, which is num for number, and then we can write return num modulo 2 is equal to 0. Now if I hit save and if we log this variable check even and if we hit save, so as you can see the result is true because this array number has at least one element that is even, which is 10. The sum method will stop the execution as soon as it finds an element that passes the test and return true. However, if none of the elements pass the test, the result will be false. For example, if we change the array to only have odd numbers, the result will be false. Now if we change this array and if we remove this 10 from here, you can see now we have false because now we don't have any even number in this array. Now this callback function that we are using here can have up to 3 parameters, and these are the current element, the current index, and the original array. And we can use these parameters to access more information about the array and the elements. For example, let's say we have an array of objects like this and we want to check if any of them has a name property that starts with A. We can use the sum method like this. Here we can write let result is equal to people dot sum. Then here again we need only one parameter, which I am calling it person. Now here to check if a name starts with A, we can write person, which is this object. Then on this object we have our name property person dot name at position 0 is equal to capital A. Now if we hit save and if we log this result variable, and you can see the result is true because this array people has at least one element that has a name that starts with A, which is this Alice. The sum method is very useful when we want to check if an array satisfies a certain condition without having to loop through the array or use a flag variable. And at last, we have our every method. Now this every method checks if all elements in an array pause a test provided by a function. It takes one required argument, which is the function that tests each element and returns true if the function returns a truthy value for all elements and otherwise false. For example, let's say we have an array of numbers like this and we want to check if all of them are positive or not. We can use our every method in order to do this. So here we can write let let result is equal to numbers dot every. Now here we are going to write our callback function and we are going to use only one argument, which I am calling it num for number. Then to check for if all elements in the array are positive, we can write if num are greater than 0, then this means that all numbers are positive. Now if we hit save and if we log this result to variable, you can see we have true because we don't have any negative number in this numbers array. However, if any of the elements fail the test, the result will be false. For example, if we change the array to have a negative number, like if we add -6 here, and now if we hit save, you can see now we have false because now we have one negative number in this numbers array. So this every method is very useful when we want to check if an array meets a certain condition without having to loop through the array or use a flag variable. And that's all I want to show you in this video. So in this video, we learned about 3 useful JavaScript array methods and we saw how they work, what they return, and how to use them with some code examples. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to join this exciting web development journey with us. Keep coding and keep creating, and I will see you in the next video.